We are now hearing from the person responsible for speaking on behalf of the Atlanta-based grand jury that investigated former President Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election. That is the jury forewoman confirming that multiple indictments have been recommended, saying it's not a short list. The grand jury met about 7 months and heard from testimony from 75 witnesses, including some of Trump's closest advisors. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is now reviewing those recommendations and weighing charging decisions. Emily Kors, that's the name of the jury forewoman, says she wants to see some level of accountability.
I will be sad if nothing happens. Like that's about my only request there is for something to happen. I don't necessarily know what it is. I'm not the legal expert. I'm not the judge, I'm not the lawyers, but I will be frustrated if nothing happens.
Oh, wow. Okay, so joining us now, senior political analyst and New York Times senior political correspondent Maggie Haberman. So it's interesting to hear a foreperson say that and said she'd be surprised if nothing happened. Let me just ask you, I think it's important to hear from her to set this up, what happened. Poppy mentioned 77 months hearing testimony from 75 witnesses who made their recommendations regarding the indictment. And then Fani Willis, who's a Fulton County District Attorney, she made the recommendations. The foreperson in this grand jury said this, where she is sort of seemingly saying that there might be an indictment for the former president. I want to hear what you have to think. Oh, here it is.
We definitely heard a lot about former President Trump, and we definitely discussed him a lot in the room. And I will say that when this list comes out, there are no major plot twists waiting for you.
So will he or won't he? I mean,
maybe, perhaps. I mean, look, she certainly seems like she's teasing that, stay tuned, that something is coming related to him, but she doesn't go further than that, I assume, because she got some instructions on what she could actually say.
Is it unusual to hear?
I've covered courts on and off for the last 20 years, more than that. I've never heard of a grand jury foreperson speaking this way. Now, this is a fact-finding grand jury. This is not a charging grand jury, but even still, I've never seen anything like it. If I'm the prosecutor, I'm not sure that I want this media tour taking place because I'm confident that Donald Trump's lawyers are going to use this, just based on what I was hearing last night from people, to try to argue that this is prejudicial in terms of what she's saying.
It was interesting, to Don's point, about what Trump came out and said on social media, on Truth Social, thanking the special grand jury, saying total exoneration. And I can't imagine being Fani Willis right now. Like, you've got your foreperson out there as you're trying to make this decision.
But didn't she say, like, did he actually read the documents when he said that?
Well, right. Yeah, I mean, this was not a total exoneration, frankly, any more than the Mueller report was a total exoneration, which he said about that, too. But that's, I think, a separate issue from what the grand jury forewoman is saying. I mean, she's given this extensive media tour. I saw some quotes that I think she gave to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution where she was asked about that quote, where Trump said this is an exoneration, and she started laughing and said, oh, that's fantastic. I love that. I don't see how that's helpful if you're a prosecutor, because Fani Willis still has to, it's not automatic that charges get filed now. That seems like that's the likeliest thing to do. Fani Willis is a very aggressive prosecutor, but this is just, at least in my experience covering courts, not helpful to a district attorney when they are trying to put their case together.
Let me read you the first line from your reporting. You say former President Donald Trump, who throughout his business career had a reputation for not paying lawyers, spent nearly $10 million from his Political Action Committee on his own legal fees last year, federal elections filing show. So him running for president, does that help to pay for his legal fees? If he wasn't running, he'd have to pay it himself. And this whole idea about it, well, if I'm being investigated, then if he's being investigated, then perhaps there won't be an indictment.
So there's a gray area as to what happens with his. This is from his PAC, and this was the PAC that had all of this money raised into it initially at the end of 2022, I think, 2020, early 2021, on claims of investigating widespread fraud. They did spend some of the money for that. They obviously did not confirm there was widespread fraud, but this turned into a wide, broad use PAC he was able to use that money to pay his personal legal fees. Now that he's a candidate, there are some experts on campaign finance who actually think he can't use it anymore. Not being able to have other people pay for him has always been a disincentive to Donald Trump. So I don't know what that looks like going forward, as he's facing, at the moment, 2 trials in April related to E. Jean Carroll, the woman who has accused him of rape. He is facing an intensified Georgia investigation, intensified New York investigation, and intensified Justice Department investigations. This is, again, a guy who is facing enormous legal issues and the potential of paying for this himself, which he never likes.
Let's switch gears here, because former President Trump is going to Ohio today, East Palestine to be specific, the site of the toxic train wreck, in a county where he won more than 70% of the vote in 2020. And as Nikki Haley is criticizing Biden for not going, the Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg hasn't been yet. Trump capitalizing on that?
I mean, if this was not a Trump plus 20 district, as you just said, I don't think you would be seeing him there. If this was anything that was, much closer electorally, he has been looking for opportunities to put himself in the news cycle. We were just talking about fundraising and money that he's raised. His campaign has not raised a ton of money, and that is part of why you are not seeing him do big rallies, because those are very expensive. So he's looking for ways to put himself in and look as if he's, a contrasting president with President Biden. It can be very dicey when people show up when they have no actual role in a disaster. And so he's not known for his empathy to begin with. So we will see how this visit goes.